It's pretty hard for the communist tyrants in power here to act like you're not credible anymore. Let's face it, we're viewed more credible on the world stage than Keir Starmer and his pathetic government.
Tension erupts as Tommy Robinson challenges Keir Starmer's silence on a growing crisis. You're not going to believe what just happened. A quiet parliamentary week turned into a firestorm when Tommy Robinson, yes, that Tommy Robinson, made a public statement that had even Keir Starmer visibly unsettled. It wasn't planned, it wasn't polite, and it definitely wasn't the kind of moment the Labour leader expected to face right now. Because what Robinson said didn't just challenge Starmer's politics, it struck right at the heart of the Labour Party's growing problem: silence in the face of rising frustration across Britain. This all started when Robinson released a video earlier this week filmed outside Parliament where he questioned why Keir Starmer has remained quiet on what many Britons are calling a crisis of confidence in national leadership. Robinson accused political elites left and right of ignoring working-class concerns, from rising migration pressures to collapsing public trust. And while you might not agree with everything Robinson says, one thing's certain: his words hit a nerve. Within hours, social media erupted. Clips of his video spread like wildfire, especially after Starmer's spokesperson refused to comment when asked directly by reporters whether the Labour leader had watched the clip. That silence, that pause, became the story. Now here's where things got tense. During a press briefing later that afternoon, a journalist asked Starmer point-blank, "Do you believe Tommy Robinson has a right to raise concerns about the state of British communities, and will you respond to the people who say Labour has turned its back on them?" Starmer, visibly frustrated, took a long pause before responding. His tone firm, but strained, told you everything. He said, "I will not respond to individuals who thrive on division. My focus is unity, leadership, and restoring trust." But that didn't calm the storm. If anything, it made it worse. Across social media, thousands of comments poured in. One user wrote, "When politicians dodge the question, it's not leadership, it's fear." Another replied, "You don't have to agree with Robinson to see that Starmer's silence says a lot." And political commentators started weighing in too. A former Labour aide told a local outlet, "This is exactly the kind of controversy Starmer doesn't need right now. It reminds voters of his weakness on cultural issues." Even within Labour circles, the concern was palpable. Behind closed doors, party insiders admitted the clip had stirred unease among members who already feared that Labour's messaging had become too cautious, too safe in a time when voters crave authenticity. But let's take a step back. Why does this matter? Because the tension between Starmer and voices like Robinson's represents something much deeper: the ongoing identity crisis within British politics itself. For years, the working-class base that once defined Labour has been drifting away, disillusioned by what they see as distant leadership and elitist language. Meanwhile, figures like Robinson, controversial, polarizing, but undeniably vocal, are tapping into that frustration. It's not about policy papers or parliamentary speeches anymore. It's about who speaks for the people who feel ignored. And that's why this moment hit so hard. One political analyst described it perfectly. This isn't about Tommy Robinson as a person, it's about what he represents. The raw, unfiltered anger of those who think modern politics doesn't care about them anymore. And that's what makes Starmer's reaction, or lack of one, so telling. Because leadership, at its core, isn't just about staying calm under pressure. It's about knowing when silence becomes complicity. Starmer's critics argue that by refusing to engage, he's creating a vacuum, one that louder, more emotional voices are only too eager to fill. And that's exactly what's happening. Let's look at the bigger picture. Across Britain right now, you can feel it: a growing divide between the political establishment and ordinary citizens. People are frustrated with rising living costs, overwhelmed public services, and leaders who seem more focused on diplomacy than daily life. They're not necessarily asking for radical politics, they're asking for honesty. So when Robinson steps in with direct, often blunt language, it resonates with those who feel unheard. Whether you like him or not, his ability to spark national conversations is undeniable. And for Starmer, that's the dilemma. How do you lead a country when the loudest conversations are happening outside of Westminster? Inside Parliament, Labour MPs are reportedly split on how to handle it. Some believe Starmer should take the high road, ignore Robinson, and keep the focus on economic recovery and stability. Others think silence only fuels speculation, and that by refusing to address uncomfortable topics, the party risks alienating exactly the voters it needs to win the next election. A Labour insider told reporters, "If we keep pretending these debates aren't happening, we're going to lose the people we claim to represent." It's a statement that captures the heart of this entire controversy. Meanwhile, the Conservative side isn't staying quiet either. Several Tory MPs subtly amplified Robinson's message, not his name, but his themes. They spoke about the need for real conversations around national identity and community trust. They saw an opening and they took it. Politics, after all, is about timing. And right now, Starmer's team is walking a tightrope trying to hold the moral high ground without seeming disconnected from the emotional pulse of the public. So what happens next? That's the question everyone's asking. Will Starmer continue to sidestep these cultural flashpoints? Or will he finally address the underlying frustration head-on, even if it means stepping outside his comfort zone? Because one thing's clear, Britain is changing. The tone of political debate is shifting. The old rules, the polished statements, the rehearsed interviews aren't cutting it anymore. People want leaders who speak plainly, react passionately, and above all listen. If Starmer doesn't adapt to that reality soon, figures like Robinson will continue to dominate the emotional space that mainstream politicians left behind. And that could reshape British politics in ways no one expected. The story's not over yet. Because every silence in politics speaks volumes, and right now, Keir Starmer's silence might be echoing louder than any speech he's given all year. So the question remains, is Starmer's silence strategy or surrender? Because if this moment is any indication, the British public is done waiting for answers.